Can I try it without the mic? Am I good? I'm too tall for that. I already know that. I'm Lisa Fritsch. Thank you for announcing me as a candidate for governor so I don't have to pause to let you all take that in. Why am I running for governor? Why in the world would I do this? I'm echoing what Ken said. I stood up in this election not because I yearn to be a politician. I'm not a career politician. I'm not a litigator. I didn't go to Harvard. I haven't run for a House seat. I stood up in this particular election because when I saw that Wendy Davis was who the Democrats were going to nominate, when she became a national starlet, not because of her education filibuster, but because of her stance on the life issue, I knew that the battle we're in Texas is the same battle that we're in this nation. It's not a political battle, it's a spiritual fight for the heart and soul of this nation. I've been a conservative since 2nd grade, and I'm like you. I haven't held high office, no, but I've worked at Dairy Queen, Walmart, I've owned my own business, I've been privileged to have a professional career I love on the radio advocating conservative values. But back to 2nd grade, and this is why I know it's spiritual. My mother was divorced at 22 when my father left. We lived in an urban community, and being a single black mother at that time was not the normal thing in our community. There wasn't 70% out of wedlock birth rate then. My mother was determined she would stay in that community and have the dignity of all of the wives who had a husband in their home. So people, when they ostracized her and mocked her, she didn't. She made sure to go above and beyond. She took a 3rd job at Piggly Wiggly, not so that she could put food on the table, so that I could take piano lessons and take tap class. I specifically remember a weekend when one of her friends came over and said, you know, this job is killing you. You don't have to take a 3rd job. Why don't you take public assistance? You qualify for it. You're single. They'll give you a check every month and give you money to cover your groceries. I waited and waited for my mother to quit Piggly Wiggly and do what her friend said. She never did. So one day on the way to school, I got up the nerve to ask her, why are you still working at Piggly Wiggly? Didn't I hear somebody tell you you could get on public assistance? My mom fiercely stopped our Vega. And you know, I don't know if you've had the privilege of riding in a Vega, but it would stop a lot. But this time it actually, she stopped it. And she said, I would rather us starve than to go down the path of victimization where you might never have dignity in your life again. I still choke up when I tell that story because I was 8 years old and it transformed me. I knew then that God would use that moment in my life to create a destiny and a purpose for me. I didn't know how. So after graduating from UT, my plan was to study Japanese language and literature and go off and be a businesswoman, an international businesswoman. But before then, I had tried a stint in liberalism because I was at UT and found out at a young college Republicans meeting that that moment in the Vega meant I was a Republican. So I started to read Thomas Sowell, Shelby Steele, Walter Williams, and I said, oh my God, these people are my heroes. I want to be a part of that. So I went back, and Michael and I lived in San Jose at the time, and I said, do you mind if I quit working? You know, I started a small business so I'd have more time to be a writer, and I said, I just want to quit this business. I am meant to do this. And he said yes. He's always supported me. My West Point grad and that's how they say it, I guess. Lifetime NRA member. And he introduced me to Milton Friedman and Hayek. And I started really taking that desire a level above. And I started writing, being on talk radio. I was honored to be one of the guests on Glenn Beck's Young Black Conservatives Time to Be Heard, which launched me into being an advocate for the Tea Party movement. So that after I started speaking at rallies, Neil Cavuto's show called me and said, you know, we're looking for someone to speak out against the NAACP on the Tea Party, and you've been at some rallies, would you be willing to do that? I said, absolutely, I would. And that is what got me politically involved and led me to write my book, Obama, Tea Parties, and God. Be sure you can pick one up on Amazon. But I saw, and so I hope you will ask me, I'm going to do it regent, why am I running, what I think the spiritual battle is. I want you to ask me anything about my background, how I plan to lead, why I would stand up to take on a giant and somebody who says, you know, I've sued Obama 27 times. Because you know what? Every politician says they're against Obama, but when you dig deeper, you want to know, what are they doing for this state? Why is it that the budget's gone up? Somebody can ask me to continue.
The candidates are doing great with time tonight.
I was so diligent. Was I?
You were. Any questions for Lisa?
What about the budget?
Well, so you say, oh, I sued Obama, I fight Obamacare. But even though we have a Republican-led House and Senate, the budget has increased higher than the rate of population. Even though people say they're conservative, our state sided with the University of Texas at Austin for affirmative action practices. Do you want to know who was on Abigail Fisher's side when she was putting her case together in her public relations and asked to speak? Me. I stood with Abigail Fisher against affirmative action for the University of Texas at Austin, while our state fought with UT. That was until the state attorney decided to run for governor, and then they dropped off the case. Do I get to pick? I mean,
You can go ahead.
I don't want to lose any votes because I didn't pick.
No, you go ahead.
Pay attention. Education.
Yes.
How do you stand on pre-K education?
Well, I think that that's a bunch of hokey, to be honest with you. Because, listen, you know, our Constitution does say that we have to provide for an adequate education, K through 12. The problem with that is, as we know, what's adequate to the state only means funding. Our education system needs to be broken down and restructured. There are too many students, especially in these economic areas, depressed areas, falling through the cracks. I would like to see more kids from the grades 9 through 12 have a focus on learning a skill, vocational training, technical training from the community education, and start being prepared for college before they go to college. We can't keep making everybody follow the same one-size-fits-all model that says, now it's time to go to college. You get to college, college is expensive, you study history, then you know, 4 years, 6 years later, you're living with your parents or paying back your student loans. That's unnecessary. Give people tools that they can use to have a professional job outside of high school. Some people need professional, like business vernacular training, basic things. They need to know how to job interview. They need to know that you can't go to an interview in blue jeans with your pants down here. I mean, these are basic things people need to be educated on that their parents can't impart to them. Education means a lot of different things. It's not just taking tests.
Okay, you go ahead.
Just because your kid told me so.
How do you feel about living below your means?
Living below your means?
Yes, not spending more than what you make. Do you yourself personally carry a lot of debt? Because I feel that people can talk about it and try to balance the budget, but if they personally are not fiscally responsible within their own home, they're not going to be that way with somebody else.
Well, let me tell you, speaking of education, my husband and I personally decided to go into debt for 2 reasons. The first is we sent our son to a classical Christian school. We couldn't really afford it, but my husband borrowed against his, took out money from our savings to do that. We think it's very important for him to have that education. And we borrowed against his IRA to run for this office. We normally would have never done that, but we took our cue from the last line of the Declaration of Independence. We pledged our lives, our sacred fortunes, and our duty to stand up for what we believe in, because this is a very important time in electing the right person. I don't want to be on the radio and be on TV this time and see what happened to us in 2012 happen again in 2014, and why didn't somebody do something? We are always caught saying, why did somebody do something? When Mitt Romney lost in 2012, everybody thought up until the end he was going to win. The experts showed up on Fox News Channel and told us he was the only one who could win, not Rick Santorum, not Herman Cain, and he lost. We have to start picking our candidates and not letting the baton be passed down. These offices are not about it being someone else's turn. They belong to us. You need to show up for your job interview and answer to the people, not just go to fundraisers. So we will be, I hope you don't judge me too harshly, but we will have to work really hard to recover what we did to pay him. Oh, I have to stop. That doesn't seem right.